Hello there, Atheist Junior here, your friend and humble narrator, and I'm coming to you guys with a brand new installment of my Whack an Atheist live stream series. So I titled the video that it's Kent going at SciManDan on his Whack an Atheist series for basically like the millionth time. I titled it Kent Hovind versus SciManDan episode, and then it's Avogadro's number, which is a very big number. So Kent has been sending shots at SciManDan for years. He's literally so fucking desperate for SciManDan to debate him. He's so desperate. You know what I mean? And you're going to see that desperation just reeking off of Kent Hovind in this video. So yeah, let's, without wasting any more time, let's just get this shit started.
Somebody subscribed me to it or something, and then popped up, and I said, oh, let me watch it for a minute. I said, here, Dan, mad at me again. Dan, I'm your best friend. Okay, I'm trying to help you. Here we go. So I watched some of the show, and I posted a comment about an hour after the show. Apparently, he posted the show. Let's see, here it is. There were, at the time, 1 hour after he had posted his show, he already had 5,000 views, and about 286 comments when I posted my comment. And it disappeared. I looked at it shortly, let's see, 15 hours ago, when he had 61,000 views. This was maybe 30 minutes ago at the house. I quickly went through all 2,225 comments to see where's mine. It's gone. So here it is. In case you missed it, Dan, I thought I'd share it with everybody, and you can all.
I mean, I don't know if SciManDan deleted your comment or not, or one of his mods. I kind of doubt it. But you have had a long history of censoring comments on your channel for years, Kent. So you're just a total hypocrite.
Share it with Dan, okay, please. Joseph, you got a way they can copy this and
on the screen, they can pause it.
Pause it, okay. Where they can pause, I put mine bigger font here, okay. Dan, you make my job so easy, thanks. I'll have to do another Whack an Atheist on this show on all my channels listed on drdino.com. Keep in mind, this is 3 in the morning for me. I'm really not trying to embarrass you, nor your religion, evolution religion, Dan. I'm trying to wake you up. You have chosen to believe in the dumbest and most dangerous religion in the world. And I'm trying to get you and your followers to see that before it's too late and they face the Creator. I'd suggest you stick with flat earthers where we can agree. They need to be whacked, Dan, okay? Keep an eye on drdino.com for your next science lesson. I was up at 3:30 in the morning preparing for my show on Psalm 104 when your show popped up on my screen. I may even postpone Psalm 107 and whack you tonight at 7 p.m. You are welcome and encouraged to call in and join me if you want to try to defend your silly religion. So make sure we can have that tonight, can't we? Can we come call in? Okay. Better yet, come visit Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama, and take the real tour of the Science Center and our scale model of Noah's Ark, and take the safari tour with me in one of our Jeeps and learn about God's amazing creation. It's all free, Dan. We will feed you, provide a cabin, and help rescue you from the terrible brainwashing you went through to become convinced you are related to a banana and came from an amoeba. Bring your family and friends and even a support group if you need one. We can have a live debate on my show or your show or a neutral show. Cheers. Kent Hovind, the real science teacher. So I looked through all 2,225 comments a few minutes ago, and mine seems to be gone. Would all my followers please cut and paste it back on his channel? It's probably some channel monitor he has that accidentally deleted it. I'd really like to win Dan to the Lord, and he needs to know he's welcome to call me or come visit me at DAL where he can learn some real science. So thanks for helping. Then I noticed another comment of mine I posted last night was gone. Claire, somebody said, Kent dares to attack Sagan. We ride at dawn. I said, I'm ready. Bring it on. Sagan knows better now. Sad. I've been doing seminars on creation for 35 years, and he could have known. I'll debate any and all evolution believers anytime. Call 855-BIG-DINO, extension 4 to schedule. If you're watching tonight, you're still upset, quit being upset and making nasty comments. Call and schedule a live debate. Put me in my place. Come on. I'll debate 5 or 10 at a time if that'll help you get.
So I love how Kent mentions twice that, oh, this was 3 in the morning. You know what I mean? And him saying shit like, oh, somebody, must have showed me that you made a video about me. Like he can never just admit that he searches his name on YouTube or that he checks SciManDan's channel or atheist channels regularly, to see if they've made a video about him. and then he watches them. He watches the whole thing. Like, he always has to pretend that he's so disaffected and like uncaring, while at the same time he's so obviously like obsessed with people on YouTube talking about him, which is completely normal. It's normal to be curious when you know that there are people on YouTube making videos about you. It's normal to go and search those videos up. You know what I mean? Like, it can seem a little weird Googling your name or typing it into YouTube, but if you're a public figure like Kent or me, like, I haven't had very many people make videos about me, but a lot of people made videos about Kent. So it follows that he would search new videos about him and watch them. Like, I don't know why he has to like act like he's, you know, not doing it. There's nothing to be like embarrassed about, Kent.
Courage to ride at dawn for real. You go first and present the best evidence you have for evolution. I will counter. Then you give the evidence number 2, etc. Equal time for each side. No interrupting. No profanity. Call to schedule or come visit our Dinosaur Adventureland in Linux to have the debate live on all my channels listed on drdino.com. This one disappeared too. So sad. I spent all that work at 3:30 in the morning. So I did another one. He said, it's easy to debate a renowned scientist when they're no longer around to debunk you. Smooth, Kent, very smooth. I said, well, Dan.
Good point.
Dan's alive. You're alive. Call 855-BIG-DINO, extension 4. Schedule a debate today. You can defend the evolution religion for poor Carl.
Kent, challenging people to a debate is not an argument. It's not a refutation. It's not a comeback to any thing that people say about you. It's just nothing.
That one disappeared too. I'm starting to feel discriminated against, Joseph. A little bit. Okay. Anyway, Dan's show, creationist, takes on scientific legend. Let me get over here and play Dan. Okay. I got to go this way. Yeah, there it is. Okay.
One of my favourite scientists of all time is the late, great Carl Sagan. Absolutely adore him. And of course, he was an excellent science communicator. So imagine my absolute horror when I discover that Kent Hovind has decided to whack him for his Whack an Atheist video series. I cannot be having that.
You cannot be having that. What do you propose to do about it, Dan? You delete my comments. You won't come debate me, you coward. Come on. What do you mean you cannot be having that?
What do you mean he's a coward, Kent? Just because somebody won't debate you, that makes him a coward? You're not entitled to people's time, Kent. People don't have to debate you just because you challenge them to a debate.
The British cannot be having the Americans throw the tea in the harbor either, can they? Yeah. We did, and we won. Took a while. It will win. Okay, so I'm going to skip.
Kent is so obsessed with this shit. It's so fucking cringy. So cringy.
He goes to an advertisement here up to, let's see, advertises this. Somewhere around here, I think. Some kind of backpack or something. I don't want one.
Off in total. Just click the link in the description and use the code SciManDan.
Sorry about that.
2025. Thank you again to Exeter for sponsoring. Right, on with today's video where Kent Hovind has Carl Sagan in his sights. I absolutely cannot allow this. So you know what I've got to do, people?
Yeah, what do you got to do, Dan? If you're going to keep doing these programs like this, I'll keep doing them back and forth. We can do this. It's going to be a lot simpler. Just call me on the phone. 855-BIG-DINO. I'm extension 3. Call me anytime.
Take it away, Kent.
All right. I'm going to interrupt him about 400 times here. Go ahead, Carl.
Here we are on a planet which is about 5,000 million years old.
They start off right away with a propaganda statement. We know this planet is 5,000 million years old. You don't know any such thing. It can't possibly be that old for lots of scientific reasons. We cover on video number 1, the age of the Earth. Like I tell you, if I told you this Bic ink pen was 4,000 years old, you could say I could prove that wrong very easily. It's a ballpoint. They didn't have ballpoint pens till 1888. Good point. That's when it was invented.
Great. And guess when the Earth formed? 4.6 billion years ago. We know that because we've tested it, repeated it, and there is a firm consensus amongst scientists that that is the age of the Earth. You're basically saying here that because pens are not 4,000 years old because they were invented in 1888, The Earth is not 4.6 billion years old. A pen is a specific invention by humans, made from specific materials at a particular point in time. The age of the pen is tied to human history, not natural processes. Dear, oh dear, Kent. Very poor start.
So you prove, well, Dan, you are making a dogmatic religious dogma statement. Oh, the Earth is 4.6 billion years. We know it is because other people believe it.
This is what I can't stand when Kent does this shit, dude. Sorry, I was muted. I can't stand it when Kent will literally misrepresent somebody seconds after playing their clip. He just played the clip of SciManDan saying that we know the Earth is billions of years old because we've done tests to measure the age of the Earth, many different tests. We've repeated those tests, and people that are scientists, people who study geology, people who study things like the age of the Earth and the natural elements of the Earth, like rocks and water and different things like that. They know, based on many different corroborating fields of science, what the age of the Earth is, and that it's many orders of magnitude more than 6,000. But Kent goes and says, we know the Earth is billions of years old because lots of people believe it. Basically, the argument from majority opinion. That's not what SciManDan said. Like, I'm going to rewind this just a few moments and just look at how blatant this shit is. Like, I feel so bad/annoyed. Like, do his fans and viewers not pick up on this shit? I know they don't, but how?
What do you propose to do about it, Dan? You wrong very easily. It's a budget.
Pens are not 4,000 years old because they were invented in 1888. The Earth is not 4.6 billion years old. A pen is a specific invention by humans, made from specific materials at a particular point in time. The age of the pen is tied to human history, not natural processes. Dear, oh dear, Kent. Very poor start.
So you prove, Dan, you are making a dogmatic religious dogma statement. Oh, the Earth is 4.6 billion years. We know it is because other people believe it.
Not what he said.
Well, a lot of people believe in Islam. A lot of people believe Jehovah's Witness. A lot of people believe Mormons. That doesn't make it true. And if this evolution theory just came out, in the last 150 years, you mean back in 1800, everybody was wrong and it's okay to challenge that?
No, they were not wrong back 150 years ago. The theory of evolution was just more incomplete back then. You had Darwin just barely on the cusp of discovering evolution, and then you add 150 years plus of advances in medical science and evolutionary biology and Evo Devo and all that other stuff. You tack that on. Darwin didn't even know about Mendelian genetics, and we call it the modern synthesis. So no, it wasn't wrong back then. It's not wrong now. It was just not as complete back then as it is now.
Would it be okay to challenge this now? And maybe
one of Kent's most annoying arguments, seriously.
You guys been wrong for 150 years? Oh, science is supposed to be, you're supposed to.
No, that's the creationists. Y'all have been wrong this entire time. That's you. Again, if there's one thing that Kent is more than anything, would you say that it ranks number one, that he's a liar, that he's a projector, that he projects, or that he strawmans? I have to wonder, like, what does he do the most? What's most fundamental to Kent? I would say projection, honestly.
We open for criticism. I cover in video number 1 about 30 different ways to show the Earth cannot be billions of years old.
In your opinion, based on a bunch of fallacious arguments, quote mines, and spurious reasoning that doesn't hold up to muster past 5 minutes of hearing the seminar. The people in the audience are like, that sounds true based on my, common sense and the fact that I'm just listening on a very basic level and I don't know shit about science. I'm not going to think about this after I go home. No, but if you actually analyze the stuff Kent says, it doesn't pass muster. It's all bullshit.
And the illustration about the ink pen went completely over your head.
Nope.
Dan, it only takes one proof of a young Earth to prove it's young. If somebody's...
That's only if you actually prove it. That's the key distinction.
Arrested, accused of a crime, and they bring up 30 pieces of evidence. Here's why this guy's guilty. and one person brings up one piece of evidence, Your Honor, he wasn't there at the scene. He was over here in China or someplace. One proof of he wasn't there, one proof of innocence is all it takes. He's innocent. One proof of a young earth is all it really takes. All your other evidences don't matter, okay? I know you guys cannot comprehend that. One evidence of a young earth, and I got about 30 of them on video number 1. Get those on my series, get the whole series for $50. And you can watch it online someplace. So I'm sorry, Dan, you're mistaken. The ink pen illustration is a good one, and it completely went over your head. Sorry. Listen to it one more time. Prove my 5,000-year claim wrong, just with that one fact. You can say, wait a minute, it's got made of plastic. Plastics weren't invented until 1907. Another fact that proves my claim is wrong.
So your Bic pen was made in 1888 before plastic was invented?
How can you miss something so simple, Dan? Are you in kindergarten or something? I'm saying because it's a ballpoint, it has to be after 1888. Because it's plastic, it has to be after 1907. How can you not get this? Am I missing something? And he misses them all. He doesn't get it. I don't know what grade you're in, Dan, but you need to come to Dinosaur and learn some real science. Look, the whole time, he doesn't get it. It's a simple illustration, and it really hits home. Keep going, Kent. Okay, go ahead.
Awesome, Kent. I am, of course, being flippant here. His whole argument is flawed. That's why.
Then you say it's made by Bic. It's got it right out of BIC. Bic company didn't start till 1944. 3 simple facts of history show my claim of 5,000 years is wrong.
Yes, and you pulled that 5,000-year claim from your you-know-what. The fact that Earth is 4.6 billion years old.
The fact that Earth is 4.6 billion years old. So you make these dogmatic statements, and your crazy followers believe it. Wow, they lick it up. Wow, Dan said it. It's got to be true. The Earth cannot possibly be that old for obvious scientific reasons. The magnetic field getting weaker. The Earth is slowing down in its spin. The Earth is cooling off a billion years old. So the whole time, he doesn't get it. It's a simple. Plastics weren't invented until 1907. Another fact that proves my claim is wrong.
So your Bic pen was made in 1888 before plastic was invented?
How can you miss something so simple, Dan? Are you in kindergarten or something? I'm saying because it's a ballpoint, it has to be after 1888. Because it's plastic, it has to be after 1907. How can you not get this? Am I missing something? And he misses them all. He doesn't get it. I don't know what grade you're in, Dan, but you need to come to Dinosaur and learn some real science. Look, the whole time, he doesn't get it. It's a simple illustration, and it really hits home. Keep going, Kent. Okay, go ahead.
Awesome, Kent. I am, of course, being flippant here. His whole argument is flawed. That's why.
Then you say it's made by Bic. It's got it right out of BIC. Bic company didn't start till 1944. 3 simple facts of history show my claim of 5,000 years is wrong.
Yes, and you pulled that 5,000-year claim from your you-know-what. The fact that Earth is 4.6 billion years old.
The fact that Earth is 4.6 billion years old. So you make these dogmatic statements, and your crazy followers believe it. Wow, they lick it up. Wow, Dan said it. It's got to be true. The Earth cannot possibly be that old for obvious scientific reasons. The magnetic field getting weaker. The Earth is slowing down in its spin. The Earth is cooling off. The oceans are filling in.
Bro, how is the Earth cannot possibly be billions of years old, not you making a dogmatic statement? Let's rewind this just a second.
I am, of course, being flippant here. His whole argument is flawed. That's why.
Then you say it's made by Bic. It's got it right out of BIC. Bic company didn't start till 1944. 3 simple facts of history show my claim of 5,000 years is wrong.
Yes, and you pulled that 5,000-year claim from your you-know-what. The fact that Earth is 4.6 billion years old.
The fact that Earth is 4.6 billion years old. So you make these dogmatic statements, and your crazy followers believe it. Wow, they lick it up. Wow, Dan said it. It's got to be true. The Earth cannot possibly be that old for obvious scientific reasons.
How is that not you making a dogmatic statement right after you accuse Dan of doing it?
The magnetic field getting weaker. The Earth is slowing down in its spin. The Earth is cooling off. The oceans are filling in with sediment. The oceans are getting saltier. I cover a whole bunch of, it can't be that old. You might want it to be that old because you need it for your religion, but I'm sorry, it can't.
No, he doesn't want it to be that old, Kent. Nobody wants to be related to animals and have common ancestry with, monkeys and other fish. Nobody wants that to be true. It's just what we find. It's just evident. It's just what the data shows.
And scientifically, this Earth cannot be that old. These numbers, billions of years, get lost in the human brain. And it really gets lost in years. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, that's true. And people like creationists take advantage of that when they use things like saying, they use very devious arguments like saying that, oh, the chances of one proton forming, the chances of the first living cell forming are like, 10 trillion to 1. But it's like, how did you calculate that? Like, what was your math? And it's literally just big number means I'm right, because big numbers are scary. And the human mind can fathom 6,000 years a lot more intuitively than 4 billion years, obviously.
Just that, a fact.
It's not. It's a fact. There must be, because he said it. No, Dan, listen to me. It's a fact. The Earth is 6,000 years old. It's a fact.
Yeah. So how are you not a huge hypocrite? How are you not doing exactly what you're accusing him of doing? The difference being that he has evidence to back up his claim. You do not.
And the Bible is true, and it's a fact. How do you like it? Complicated. Carl, your claim of 5,000 million years for the age of the Earth is easy to prove wrong. It can't be. I know you need billions of years to hide your religion in. I understand. But you can't have it. Look at video number 1, scientific ways to show the Earth simply can't be billions of years old. But you atheists are going to comment tonight. You're scared of this one. You have to have billions of years. That's your pacifier.
We don't have to have billions of years. It's just that billions of years have passed.
Exactly.
There you go. Dogmatic statement again.
Oh my
See, this
God.
is how religious cults do things.
You're making a dogmatic statement, SciManDan, when you say the Earth, it's a fact the Earth is 4 billion years old. You're making a dogmatic statement. Well, no, you're wrong. It's a fact that the Earth is actually 6,000 years old. You're being dogmatic, but I'm not, even though I actually am. I'm a fucking idiot, hypocrite, and also probably smell bad. Hovind.
Just yell it over and over, louder and louder, and everybody starts to believe it after a while. Like Jim Jones and Adolf Hitler was a religious cult. Boy, the way he just over and over.
Hitler never said that people will believe a big lie rather than a small lie.
We're the superior race. We got to eliminate the rest of the inferior. That's all you're doing. That's why I say evolution's a dangerous cult religion. Nothing else. Look at it. Dogma. We know the Earth is a fact. Don't you question it. I'm going to question it, Dan.
Again, fact.
Sorry, Carl. It is not 5,000 million years old. It's easy to prove. It cannot be. Now, the Bible teaches about 6,000. I don't think I can prove that scientifically. I don't need to. I'm not making mine taught in the school system. But it can't be billions.
Yeah, you wish you could, though. You fucking wish you could. If you had your way, that's exactly what you would do. And you're full of shit, Kent. Let's hear him say that one more time.
It's easy to prove. It cannot be. Now, the Bible teaches about 6,000. I don't think I can prove that scientifically. I don't need to. I'm not making mine taught in the school system. But it can't be billions, like Make Pen. This is not 5,000-year-old Big Pen. It's not complicated. Okay, go ahead. So, Dan, let me explain it in smaller words. I don't have a pen. Let's pretend this is a Bic pen. It is not possible for this to be 5,000 years old for 3 simple scientific reasons. Bic wasn't a company till 1946. Plastics weren't made till 1907. Ballpoints weren't invented till 1888. Any one of those 3 facts proves the 5,000-year claim wrong. I don't know when it was made, and I don't care. But it's not 5,000. I can't prove the Earth is 6,000 years old, but it doesn't matter. It's not billions for scientific reasons. Forget the Bible. It is scientifically impossible for the Earth to be that old. Why can't you guys grow up and just learn some real science and admit it? Why don't you pick a theory that fits into a smaller number?
Okay, I'm going to rewind this a little more because I wanted to hear him say specifically that I'm not trying to get younger with creationism in the public school. Also, Mark Reed is in the chat. Shouts out to Mark Reed. I'm going to post the link to the StreamYard room. Big Bad Mama or Mark, anybody, if you want to join, you're more than welcome.
Carl, it is not 5,000 million years old. It's easy to prove. Okay. It cannot be. Now, the Bible teaches about 6,000. I don't think I can prove that scientifically. I don't need to. I'm not making mine taught in the school system.
Well, let's just take a moment to unpack that. Because I made a video when I first started my channel that was titled Kent Hovind's Biggest Lie. And basically, the thing that I'm referring to is this right here. Kent's claim that I'm not trying to get young Earth creationism taught in public schools. I'm not trying to get evolution taken out. That's what I dubbed Kent Hovind's biggest lie, because it really is. It's a complete lie. Hello, Mark Reed. How's it going?
Hello, I can't stay too long, but I'll drop in because this is just too funny.
Yeah, well, are you familiar with this? House Bill 2548 for Arkansas back in 2001. Have you ever heard of this?
You'd be amazed at the amount of Arkansas bills I'm not familiar with, AJ.
Okay, well, I'm glad that I'm going to introduce you to this, because this is actually kind of scary, to be honest. So this is something that a representative tried to get passed back in the early 2000s, and Kent Hovind effectively wrote this. So let's just read it. The bill is 4 pages.
My name is Kent Hovind. Does it start?
No, it's a little bit more professional, just a little bit, but it's only 4 pages. So it says, for an act to be entitled, an act to prohibit state agencies and other public entities from using tax dollars to purchase or distribute material that they know or should have known contains or presents as factual information which has been proven false or fraudulent and for other purposes. So specifically, what it's saying is that they're trying to prohibit schools, state agencies, and other places from using tax dollars to distribute material that contains lies. And you can take a wild guess what the list of those lies are. So let's just scroll down a little bit.
Okay.
So
the theory of, wow.
Yeah.
The theory in homology, invertebrate limbs is evidence for common. Wow.
Is it big enough for you to read? I just want to make sure you guys can see it. Let me make it a little bit bigger.
Wow. So this is Hovindism 101. This is, you know.
Okay, so I'm going to go through and read some of this. The theory that the geologic column accurately represents different time periods on Earth. The geologic column does not exist anywhere on the Earth except in textbooks. The theory that fossils represent missing links between life forms. It cannot be proven that any fossil had offspring. So he's literally just saying, you can't prove that fossil had kids. Carbon dating. Shells from living snails were carbon dated as being 27,000 years old. Oh my God. I get PTSD from the carbon dating debate about this stuff.
Yeah.
The mammoth, the mammoth carbon dated at 29,500 years, and another part at, or it was a different mammoth. We all know that. Kent's been lying about this for decades. Potassium argot dating. Science is a special way of knowing and understanding the physical world that uses the scientific method to conduct rigorous investigations into processes that are observable and repeatable. Science is a discipline that employs skeptical peer review and experiments attempting to falsify ongoing and prior scientific work to ensure the validity and integrity of results.
Well,
so this is saying, it's saying that these are all theories.
Yeah.
And that we shouldn't be teaching these. This is there's nothing wrong with this when it describes science. It's perfectly accurate.
Yeah, but they're basically saying that is, not applicable to the age of the Earth and evolution, and that isn't true. It's gone through very rigorous scientific testing.
Absolutely. So let's keep reading. Haeckel's embryos
experiment. What have they got with Miller-Urey?
Oh, well, it's conflating abiogenesis with evolution. That's Haeckel's embryos proven false in 1874. Ernst Haeckel was convicted of fraud. No, he wasn't. We're still waiting on that evidence of that trial. Kent, still waiting.
Well, it doesn't exist. That's the thing. Like he says he'll send it through, and he's got all this evidence, and he lies. He lies all the time, and he won't send it through because there is no evidence that even this student. It was a student trial, and we don't have any record of it because it wasn't a real. It was a mock trial done in a university, and all we have is people saying it happened. That's it. That's the entire thing.
It's creationists specifically that seem to be the ones saying it happened, which is usually not a good sign. And I just wanted to make it clear that this missed passing by 6 votes. So this almost passed. Yeah, that's the scary thing about this.
That is peppered moss. The photographs used in current textbooks are fraudulent, as the moss were discovered to be dead and glued in place.
Yeah, have you not heard "can't make the peppered moth" argument before?
No.
Yeah, what he says is he says that like it's fraudulent because there were only 2 dead moths and the guy glued them in place to take the textbook photos. It's like, just because somebody might have done that to take a photo for a textbook has nothing to do with the validity of the peppered moth evidence, because people, of course, they're going to do that to pose it for a photo. Who cares? Like, what's the significance of saying that it was glued in place for a photo? Who cares? It's irrelevant.
Well, the weird thing is he's talking about known frauds like the Piltdown Man, right?
Yeah, it's like a greatest hits.
Yeah, but he's saying, they shouldn't teach this. Yeah, we agree on that. We agree on that. That was, I don't. What the hell?
Homo erectus, originally Java Man, and later Pithecanthropus erectus, was made from a few scraps of bone. Let's see.
Cro-Magnon is at least equal in physique and brain capacity. And I love how none of this has got any citations, any kind of there's no kind of justification at all. Just here's the creationist, spewing talking points and bullshit, and just believe us. Make a law about it on Trust Me Bro.
Yeah. Charles Oxnard studied 16 years and used computer multivariate analysis and concluded Lucy is not intermediate. There's a great clip of the Kent Hovind at Berserkly, the debate, where that whole video is amazing because there's so many students there that are studying different fields that kind of own Kent Hovind based on different topics. It's really funny. And one of them, basically, I think all he says is that he just goes up and tells Kent, you can't do a multivariate analysis on one thing.
Yeah.
Kind of in the name, it's for data sets, not just like you can't. And it was very funny, and then there's that great clip of Skip Evans in that video.
Charles Oxnard comes from my neck of the woods.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Australia?
University of WA. Yeah, Western Australia, my state. Interesting. What a guy.
Yeah. I'll have to look into that. I didn't know that. But there's a great clip of Skip Evans, R.I.P., where he grills Kent on Lucy. If you've ever heard the chick tracks that Kent basically wrote, like he wrote this effectively. He helped write a chick track. I forget what it's called, but I think it's Big Daddy, where it says that Lucy was all the experts agree that Lucy was just a 3-foot tall chimpanzee. And Skip Evans just asks Kent, who are these experts? And Kent tap dances. He just refuses to answer the question because he can't, and it's very, very nice to watch. It's almost like I almost feel bad for Kent. Like it's almost like some secondhand embarrassment because he's just, he just can't answer it. But then it's like, well, you shouldn't be lying publicly like this. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, that's all that Kent Hovind does is I think he is so untruthful. He doesn't even know how to tell the truth anymore. Like he just doesn't understand how.
Yeah, how like very young children kind of struggle to understand the difference between reality and fantasy. I think Kent, the same way Kent doesn't really know the distinction between lying and telling the truth. Because I don't think he thinks that he's lying. You know what I mean? He doesn't think he's a liar. Yeah. He thinks he tells the truth. He's so deep into it,
Yeah, and I think that he sort of he's kind of deluding himself into thinking that what he's saying is the truth.
But it can't be billions.
Else is wrong.
A good man.
Even though But the problem with that hypothesis, though, is the amount that he dodges trying not to, like he'll sort of, say, oh, I'll get back to you on that. I'll look up this thing and I'll send it to you. It's bullshit. I've never received any of this stuff from any of my debates where Hovind said, oh, well, I'll get into that and I'll send it to. Never, not once. Not once has he done that.
Oh, I'll look into that, especially with Clammy Demonis.
Yeah.
I did a video on that of Kent basically giving that excuse 5 times in 5 different debates and never looks it up. Okay, I'm going to...
It's scientifically impossible for the Earth to be that old. Why can't you guys grow up and just learn some real science and admit it? Why don't you pick a theory that fits into a smaller number? There are lots of ways to prove it simply can't be that old, the oldest language.
That's not the reality of the situation. Like we follow the evidence to where it leads, not to where we want it to be. That's the difference between us and you, Kent. So essentially, I've said that science is the opposite of apologetics. Apologetics, you start with the conclusion and then you try and find the evidence to make it fit. Science, we're not doing that. We're observing what's around us and then making conclusions based upon that. This man is just a religious zealot. That's all he is. He just has his conclusion and he will use anything to justify it.
The oldest written recording recorded.
If evolution was false or the age of the Earth was different, how would that change my life tomorrow? It wouldn't.
Right.
Nothing would change. It would just be whatever. Like, if there's a God, how would my life change? It probably wouldn't. If Kent Hovind, if it's not his Bible is inerrant and all of this stuff, his entire world falls apart. His entire business, his little grift camp down there in what is it, Alabama he's in now. All of it just falls apart. This is a guy who has based his entire life on some things that are factually incorrect being true.
Well said.
Example of capital punishment. I go through about 30 of them, Dan. Watch video number 1.
The sun.
Is he in favor of capital punishment? Hey, Deviant, how you doing?
Hi, I'm good. I'm really good. I've been sleeping for like almost 24 hours. So
That's okay.
I wasn't
You're always up late, so
yeah.
Every time I
just
see
don't make a habit out of it.
What, sleeping? Oh no,
I mean sleeping that long.
Oh yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
I was gonna say I sleep most nights. I must be an addict or something. I sleep most nights.
You probably are sleep addict.
Around which it goes is not much.
I like in Mad Max Fury Road where the villain says that you don't need water. Don't you'll get addicted to it. Yeah.
Sun that the Earth goes around is older than the Earth. If you read the Bible made the Earth, heaven and earth first.
Is that true? Yes. Right. How old is the sun? I don't know off the top of my head.
I don't know, but in order for the Earth to form, we need an accretion disk. In order for that to occur, we need a gravity well. So the gravity well was the sun that the accretion disks basically formed planets into. And he's like, "Oh, what? Who told them to come together? It's just gravity. Like it's just freaking gravity. Nobody had to tell them. It's like, who told my pen to drop if I drop it? Nobody. It's just gravity, dude." Like this is the great man of science doesn't understand freaking gravity. It's just wow.
About 4.6 billion years
versus 4.543 for the Earth. So they're roughly the same age because, like I think you mentioned, the Earth formed from the accretion disk of the sun.
Right.
That's how the planetesimal formed, and the rest is history. All right, let's keep going.
Yeah.
First, and then on day 3, he made this.
Did you want to say something else, Deviant, before I play it again?
No. I just
sun, moon, and stars.
So that means it was totally dark on days 1 and 2 then, yeah? I'll be interested to know what light sources were around on
What is going on?
Are you okay? AJ, I think we've lost AJ. I think AJ, have you been smoten by Hovind's god? Blink twice. Blink twice if you're okay. Yeah, so this is Dan talking about. I'll just fill in for AJ. I am now Atheist Junior. I have been demoted into the junior position. Sorry, AJ, I'm taking over your show. Here's the thing. In the Bible, it says, "Let there be light," to start off with. But it says that the heavens and the earth were formed later. So they're talking about the sun and everything was formed later. So the question that Dan's asking is sort of what was providing the light. And I think to Steelman, the creationist, they would probably say, hey, it was God just providing the light. It's a bit of an odd one, though, in Genesis.
I was going to say, I was just going to, I mostly use Bible Gateway for online Bibles because I don't know. Yeah.
It's good.
And I think not only... I think it's different when the sun is created, depending on if you're reading Exodus 1 or Exodus 2.
Correct.
Which, of
My
course,
computer crashed. Sorry, guys. I'm back.
No worries. No worries. Well, it's Genesis 1 and Exodus.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry. I think it was an act of God. I think God tried to sabotage my live stream.
And folks,
that was my guess.
Yeah. So it's the only explanation.
I think that God sent me to Earth to take over your live stream. I am the chosen one.
Definitely. Oh yeah, there was a crazy weather last night in San Antonio and like New Braunfels area.
Yeah.
I want to show that real quick because I really thought it was a cool video that I was able to take slow motion video of some of the lightning during the thunderstorms, but it was like hailing. Some places had like golf ball sized hail, and it was on Memorial Day, and I think it was because it was really, really hot that day. Like it felt like a day in the middle of summer. And then very quickly, like it like got, once it was around 6 or 7, like cooled off, and all that, I don't know the exact processes, but like all that hot and cold air mixed, and it was just this rapid onset of like just crazy weather. It was it makes sense, you know, with the weather guy was explaining it, you know what I mean? All right. But yeah, it was like pouring rain. I'm sure there was so many accidents, you know, because people coming home from like Memorial Day stuff, and it was like they must have gotten caught like on the road, and it was just, I hope too many people didn't get hurt, honestly. All right. But well, let me just keep playing Kent.
One-track mind, and it's derailed, son.
Interesting, right?
And that is what has happened with this stupid idea that the universe is billions of years old. It cannot be, for lots of logical scientific reasons.
Are you going to tell us any of these logical or scientific reasonings, or are you just going to say it?
I've said it for 35 years.
Okay.
No, he hasn't given the reasons for 35 years. All he's done is made claims for 35 years. He's never backed up any of the stuff that he said with any actual science. You know, like repeating a claim doesn't give it any more substance than the first time, Ken.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, I took this video just sitting at a red light, and crazy. Like on the slow-mo guys channel, they have a video with like their crazy like whatever camera they have, where they look at some lightning, and it's like even cooler than this. But yeah, just wanted to show that real quick.
I've showed it on my.
That's not even lightning strike. That's like horizontal.
Yeah,
yeah.
Seriously.
That's really cool. I've only seen that in the Alps. You can see the lightning going through from one Alp top to another one. I've never seen it like that. That's really cool.
What about Aurora Borealis?
I've seen that. I've finally seen it.
Aurora Borealis.
Well, you're a lot closer to it than I am. I'll give you the tip right now. You're a lot closer. But you can see that and imagine what primitive people thought when they saw that stuff, right? You could imagine them going, oh, that cannot be something natural of this world. That is like you can understand it, right?
Yeah, you can't
kind
blame
of-
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
30-some reasons why the universe and the Earth cannot be that old. Why don't you watch the video and tell me what I did wrong with those, Dan? The sun is
nobody
burning.
hates themselves
Lots
as
of
much.
people have debunked that seminar already,
Yeah.
Kent. Like, and you just hand wave it. So
About 5 million tons a second. It's losing a lot of mass. That's going to create a problem. As the mass of the sun changes, the gravitational pull with all these planets is going to be changing. You want to go back 5 billion years and add 5 million tons a second to the sun? I think you're going to have a problem keeping.
that's nothing compared to the overall mass and
Correct.
size of the sun. That's nothing. It's inconsequential.
Between Mercury and Venus and Earth and maybe Mars in orbit.
Also, Kent is confusing weight and mass here,
Yeah.
which is something he does all the time talking about the sun. Similar to how he confuses fusion with burning, like a combustion or fire. Like nuclear fusion inside of stars is not the same as something like burning,
Well,
why would Kent know
fusion-
specifics?
Well, basically, it's converting hydrogen to helium through the fusion process. So it's fusing together, and part of the process. I'm not a physicist, I do have to say that, but part of the process is it's throwing off energy. But when it converts hydrogen to helium, it's basically the same mass except for the energy that it's so it's not losing mass at the rate that you think it is. Like it isn't losing those sort of hydrogen atoms per se. They're fusing into helium.
Right.
It's
Yeah,
only
so
a tiny fraction that gets thrown off in energy.
Kent is oftentimes talking about the sun couldn't still be burning if it was as old as science says it is. And he bases, so as you all know, I'm definitely not a physicist in any way. So my explanation might be a bit off. But as an idea, the sun it's not like a bonfire in the sky. It doesn't, it consumes the energy within itself through fission. Or is it fusion?
Fusion, not fusion.
Which one do you use in
fusion? Fission is in nuclear power plants. That's where we're splitting.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
And fusion is what scientists are trying to achieve, to be able to
Correct.
do, so that we could have basically an eternal power source, which to me, as I said, I have such a basic understanding of this, but that alone tells me that it's not the bonfire in the sky.
So nuclear fission actually does happen in the death of some really giant stars. But yeah, fusion is the process that occurs most of the time. Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
and the problem is that even though it is losing sort of billions of kilograms of mass, the mass of the sun is so big that it's like only about 0.05% of its total mass over its lifetime. So,
right.
you're basically going, oh, but it's losing this big number. Yes, but its mass is gigantic. Like you are basically taking a large number and saying, hey, that's a lot. Yes, but the total mass is insane. Like it is I mean, I can't even put it up. Like it's 330,000 times that of the Earth. Hang on, I'll just look up its mass.
I'm just going to play this clip
For
again.
scientific reasons.
Are you going to tell us any of these logical or scientific reasonings, or are you just going to say it?
I've said it for 35 years, Dan. I've showed it on my video series, 30-some reasons why the universe and the Earth cannot be that old. Why don't you watch the video and tell me what I did wrong with those, Dan? The sun is burning about 5 million tons a second. It's losing a lot of mass. That's going to create a problem. As the mass of the sun changes, the gravitational pull with all these planets is going to be changing. You want to go back 5 billion years and add 5 million tons a second to the sun? I think you're going to have a problem keeping Mercury and Venus and Earth and maybe Mars in orbit. It'd suck them right in. You guys, it's your job to prove, go back 5 on with those, Dan. The sun is burning about 5 million tons a second.
Okay, 5 million tons a second. The sun is like 2,000 tons, though. So that's
2,000 tons. No, it's 1.9 times 10 to the power of 30. So it's sort of, let's round it to 2. So it's basically 20 with 30 kilograms after it. Like it is insane the amount of mass that's there.
wow.
Yeah, so 1.9
It's losing a lot of mass.
times 10 to the power of 24. Yeah, no, it is. So it's roughly, and I'll put it in chat. Just 1 second, and I'll put it in chat. This is the how large it is basically.
Yeah. And
I just put my comment in the chat. Yeah. Oh, it's losing a few billion, billion a second. Big
Yeah.
deal.
Big whoop.
Over
I'd like to lose weight that fast.
Well, over 4.3 billion years, it's lost 0.05%.
Right. All right, I'm going to keep going unless Deviant, you want to add anything?
no, I realized I was looking at the wrong numbers.
Okay.
That's going to create a problem. As the mass of the sun changes, the gravitational pull with all these planets is going to be changing. You want to go back 5 billion years and add 5 million tons a second to the sun? I think you're going to have a problem keeping Mercury and Venus and Earth and maybe Mars in orbit. It'd suck them right in. You guys, it's your job to prove all these things are wrong. Just like the one proof that a guy who wasn't even at the crime is enough to set him free. One proof of a young Earth is all you need. One.
Well, we
You got to
have
debunk all
billions.
of them. You guys, you will not comprehend that logic because your religion might be proven wrong. I'm sorry.
The
Anyway,
mere
Dan,
fact, sorry.
Listen to this.
The mere fact that every single human living today who does not have a pure African descent has between, I believe it's 2 and 6% of Neanderthal DNA in us. That alone proves that the Earth is older than 6,000 years. The Göbekli Tepe shows that the Earth is older than 6,000 years. The bedrock up here in Sweden shows that the Earth is older than 6,000 years. Of course, the bedrock everywhere shows that, but here we can easily see, and I guess that's true in other parts of the world as well. We can actually see how the ice has moved when it melted away. And the fact that the Earth is not made of mud and stone is not mud that has just cooled off or the water has evaporated for it. What happens when you take a ball of clay and put it in a kiln? It doesn't become stone. It becomes ceramics, I think. Oh, fuck you, Kent. I'm sorry.
And just Egyptian history proves that it's more than 6,000 years. You know, like it's.
So I actually did 23andMe, and they tell you your percentage of Neanderthal ancestry you have.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So apparently I have more Neanderthal DNA than 66% of other customers.
Okay, I've seen somebody do this before and people went, oh, you can't have 66% Neanderthal. No, it's not saying it's
Right.
66%. If that's what you were going to
No.
say, it's 66%
Yeah.
more than other people. So yes.
Yeah. And it says you inherited a small amount of DNA from your Neanderthal ancestors. Out of the 7,500 variants we tested, we found 250 variants in your DNA that trace back to the Neanderthals, and I have less than 2% of my DNA. And
yeah,
we actually have some granular details that I don't really know, like what this stuff means, but there it is.
You are caveman.
It's cool.
Yeah.
So I have while we're here, I'll show you guys my my ancestry report.
If you want,
I don't mind. I've talked about it on the channel before. I'm mostly European.
Okay.
If that wasn't shocking.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm shocked. I'm shocked.
And what the interesting thing is that before I took the test, I suspected that I was about 1/4 or 25% Italian based on my grandfather side of the family.
And that's about right. Yeah.
And that's about what it came out to, which was, it was cool to confirm that,
Oh, what's the
23.6?
Western
Yeah.
Asia and North African, so Middle Eastern kind of thing. Yeah, Iranian. Yeah,
Mhm.
fair enough. Wow, your ancestors got around. I like it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
apparently.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I highly recommend doing 23andMe. They send you a tube, you spit in it, you mail it back, and then they give you these very cool details. If you want to get the health report that apparently talks about your risk of Alzheimer's and other things, that's way more expensive. But if you want the information, it's there. I just got the basic plan.
I don't know. I don't know how I feel about a company having my DNA. I don't know how I
So
feel about that.
that's kind of my thing with it too, except from the charge,
Okay.
just the cost of it, of course. But it's pretty cool how diverse your
cool,
ancestry
yeah.
was. I happen to know that Sut, and he said this publicly, and there is no reason for him not to. He has 99.8, I believe. If it's not 99.9, it's 99.8% Finnish and 0.2% is Inuit. That is very insular.
Wow.
It's, yeah. Deconstructing Laura asked in the chat, aren't the pyramids more than 6,000 years old? No, the oldest pyramid was, which is a true pyramid, is about 4,700 years old. So built in 2,700 BCE. But you do need a functioning culture that has the administration necessary to build a pyramid. You also, of course, need the population. So the pyramids aren't older than Kent claims the Earth is, but they were built around the time, exactly around the time where he claims the entire Earth was flooded. And everyone died except from 8 people.
Yeah. Which was about 4,000 years ago, roughly?
Yeah, 4 to 4,500 years ago, they claim. So no, it doesn't work at all.
Yeah, so 23andMe did have a data breach, and I just consider the company having that information as part of the payment of getting the info. People talk about oh, Facebook, is free. It's not really free. The fact that your data gets harvested and sold, that's what you're paying for. You're paying for with your data for these things. I think some people don't realize that about social media, that's what you're paying for, is literally because your data is literally very valuable to these companies. So it's essentially the same thing as, you know, money. It's just a different form of exchange, and you're giving up some of your privacy. But you know, it's, you know, do we have any privacy in the modern day? I mean, the NSA knows what your asshole looks like, basically. So whatever.
Yeah. But there's a big difference. Well, for a start, I'd be very worried if the NSA had any information on me, because, you know,
Really? Well, you're not American.
Exactly. So they shouldn't really be concerned. I would be more like surprised if the CIA didn't have information on Australians, quite frankly. But
Right.
NSA is usually protecting their own citizens, which means that they generally spy on their own citizens. But also, at least that is some sort of government agency that has presumably been appointed by elected officials. Nobody elected companies to where they are. And there's a problem with sort of disclaimers and contractual agreements under, you know, when you tick a box and say, I agree to this, we don't really read what their obligations are. And I'm pretty certain that these companies, they basically say, well, we'll use the DNA for whatever we want. And so it worries me what that's going to be used for, like whether they're going to sell it, or they're going to, I guess I would be happier if these DNA companies and these ancestry companies would have more stringent regulations around what they can, you know, privacy and things like that. And I don't think there's enough. But that's just my personal view. I don't sort of, you know, judge anybody for doing it. My brother did it,
Yep.
you know, so that's totally cool. I'm just not happy with the current regulations around ancestry
I agree.
companies.
Yeah, I think there are points on both sides for sure. All right, let's keep going with this video.
But really fascinating,
have a
and I
debate
would
on that.
love to.
Yeah.
Really fascinating.
Yeah.
I would love to, but yeah, I have doubts.
Yeah.
And tonight, anybody call it. I know this is pulling your pacifier out. I know.
Which is one, perhaps hundreds of thousands of millions of other galaxies.
Carl, there are hundreds of thousands of millions of other galaxies. And you guys believe it all fit in a dot smaller than an atom.
We currently do, yes. And
I'm glad you admit that, Dan. Do you ever stop and think about what you think about? You believe all the galaxies fit into a dot smaller than an atom. Who on earth taught you that, and why were you dumb enough to believe it?
So here's why Hovind is a dumbass. It's because when he sees physical matter, he thinks it's mostly something instead of what we know it to be, which is mostly nothing. The size of the protons and nucleus of any kind of atom, as well as the electrons that are in a cloud around it, it's mostly empty space. Like, it is absolutely mostly empty space. You know, and Hovind says, oh, well, that's something there. Actually, it's mostly nothing. The only reason our atoms don't pass through one another is because of the electron field surrounding them, not because they are completely solid. So who is actually seeing reality here? You, who is saying, oh, but there's so much stuff. Well, that stuff is mostly nothing. So what?
They'll say, one of the guys in the comment section said, well, yeah, if you put enough pressure, you can do it. Who's supplying the pressure? Where'd the pressure come from? What just happened? That's why it's a religion. You believe this stuff. Great. It's not science.
until a better theory comes along with sufficient evidence to support it, we will continue to do so.
Till a better theory comes along with evidence to support it, you're going to continue to believe in this exploding dot. Is everybody in your country that dumb, Dan? I hope not, man. You'd have to go to college for years to be that stupid.
The funny thing is, oh, you think everything came from an exploding dot? How crazy, how ludicrous. Now let me tell you about this talking snake and the magic apple.
Right.
Right? Like, let me tell you about a talking snake tricking a woman into eating a magic fruit so that a superhero could come later on and save us from the mistake that she made. Let me tell you all about that. Yeah,
a literal zombie. He's a zombie.
Exactly. Let me tell you how someone was resurrected from the dead as a zombie to come back to save you because a talking snake offered a woman a magic fruit. Yeah, okay, Ken, sure. Yeah, and it's us.
And that's just the start. That's just the start of the book.
Oh, that is the least wacky thing in that book.
I mean, they didn't waste any time. You know what I mean?
Oh,
like,
yeah. Don't get me started about the talking donkey. Like, seriously.
Jesus rode a donkey.
Apparently so. Apparently that was good enough to get you proclaimed as a messiah. I'm like, hold my car, get me a donkey. Like, if that's all it's anyway. Aye.
Listen to him. You can't squeeze a gallon of milk into a dot smaller than an atom.
Well, you can't today, no. That's just silly, Kent.
But it happened long ago and far away where we can't see it. I thought.
Yeah. If humans right now are unable to do something, that does not mean that natural forces didn't cause that thing to happen billions of years ago, or even if you want to say 6,000 years ago in the past, because it's a completely different set of actors causing this thing to potentially happen. So it's a totally different scenario. So all the details are different. So yeah, a different thing is going to happen. What's your point?
Don't forget that Hovind assumes that that somebody has done everything. So he's coming out from, well, who did it if you didn't? And he doesn't seem to understand that natural things just occur. Like, oh, if we can't, willingly cause the weather to change, then the weather has to be caused by somebody. No, it's natural forces.
A primary mover.
Essentially,
mover. Yeah.
But the problem is that you can't show that any of this stuff was caused by somebody.
Right.
No, I mean, even if we were to say, yeah, the Earth is only 6,000 years old, and there was a flood, and it used to have a dome over it, and yada yada yada. If all of that were true, there still is not evidence for this God, and there still isn't evidence for the claims of the Bible. I mean, the claims that the flood, yeah, that would be there if that were the case. But Jesus being the Son of God and simultaneously God and all of that, and eternal life and hellfire, and none of that would still be proven.
You're a SciManDan. Doesn't that stand for science? I thought it should have, maybe.
Yes.
What else could it stand for?
Maybe he's like Aaron, he's a science communicator.
Science communicator. Yeah, right. He finally got a BS. We know what that is from Aaron Rod did.
That's a Bachelor of Science, Ken.
Yeah. Doesn't that stand for science? I thought it should have, maybe it's, what else could it stand for?
Maybe he's like Aaron, he's a science communicator.
Science communicator. Yeah, right.
He's such a horrible old man. Like, he's sort of like, oh, don't be mean to me. Everyone picks on me, poor me. But he starts all of this. Like, he is the meanest, most curmudgeonly, hateful. Yeah, he's insanely petty. He doesn't just say, hey, you can believe that. I've got the truth. He has to say, oh, you're an idiot for believing this way. But he is the first to complain and bleat and just get upset if somebody calls him a name. You old fart, stop it. Like, seriously, you are old man yelling at cloud at this point. That's all you are.
Right. For this comment from Laura, I can totally understand why people would feel this way. I'm sure lots of people sympathize with this comment, but really, I don't think that you necessarily have any reason to feel embarrassed, because Kent is very, very good at what he does. He's like a third-degree black belt when it comes to manipulating people with his word salad, and he's very effective. You know what I mean? And very smart people can be tricked by somebody who's a grifter like him. You know what I mean? And I don't think it's a sign of lack of intelligence if you fell for it or believe this, because it's not just you. That intelligence is just one factor. You have to think about, like, your family environment that you're raised in. If every member of your family is religious and they show you the Kent Hovind VHSs when you're like 10, of course you're gonna buy into it. You know what I mean? Because your authority figures are saying that it's okay, and they're showing it to you. So, you know, I get the shame aspect, but at the same time, I want people to kind of like, you know, be able to let that go. You know, I get it.
Yeah,
but,
and
you know,
I'm certainly not judging anybody that sort of believes him, because Kent, like all good con men, and he is a good con man. He really is.
I will disagree about people like Lupin, though. Like people who like continue to buy into it, even though they really should know better at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
well, I don't know about
somebody
that.
like,
I don't know.
do you know the really young girl? I forget her name, but she's like 13 or 14. She did gymnastics and she made videos.
Oh, Kayla, I want to say. Was it Kayla or Kayla or something? Kyla?
I don't something
remember.
like that. But I don't blame her as much as somebody like Lupin. You know what I mean? Because, you know, she's
I'm
younger
not sure
and her parents.
I'm not sure she's that into it. I think her parents are into it, and she's sort of being held up as this, you know, sort of thing. I'm not.
She's been very supportive of Kent publicly. You know, she's made lots of videos about him. So
yeah, I know, but she doesn't seem
Taylor.
To
her name's Taylor.
Taylor, right.
Yeah.
She doesn't seem to have the same enthusiasm for the Kent videos as she does for, say, gymnastics and things, you know, like, because, I mean, I was doing gymnastics when I was a kid, and, you know, I really like gymnastics. So I saw one of her videos on gymnastics, and she's bubbly and enthusiastic and stuff. And she doesn't seem to contain that same energy with the Kent one. Mind you, it could just be a different subject. I could be wrong, but it may be her parents sort of saying, hey, do this kind of thing.
Right.
But the thing you've got to remember is Kent is a good con man. He was, and has always been a good con man. They always prey on hope and fear. Kent is very good at making people afraid of the world around you, and what the scientists will say, and what it means for you. And the hope comes from, oh, well, I've got all the answers. It's nothing to do with intelligence. It's nothing to do with how smart you are, or how educated you are. It is something that these people prey on, and Kent has gotten very good at it over the years. He preys on people. I mean, look at all of his wives. They believe all of his stuff. They go into it with the best intentions, and, you know, as it turns out, he is a manipulative person. So, you know, I'm certainly not hassling those people who've been sort of conned by him, but he is a awful, awful person.
Sure.
He finally got a BS, we know what that is, from Aaron Rod did, from a mail order. He complains about my degrees, or, you know, correspondence schools. He got his BS from the mail. Yeah, didn't you? Now he's going to get an MS. That's more of the
there's a big difference between a correspondence degree and a degree mill, which is what you got yours from, Ken. It isn't how you got it. It is where you got it from, the unaccredited shack that you got it from. And we've read your dissertation, mate. Don't forget that. Hello, my name is Kent Hovind, and I want to present to you. Like, seriously, your dissertation, like, they should... Like, seriously, mate. Like, that is embarrassing. Yeah. That's embarrassing.
Absolutely.
Same. Then a PhD, that's piled higher and deeper. Yeah. I don't know how they... It's brainwashing is what it is. You guys have heard it all your life since you were little, and you believed it. Shame on you. You don't understand science.
And none of this, planets, suns, galaxies, was around at the time of the Big Bang.
So none of that was around at the time of the Big Bang. There was no Big Bang. You're going to put all that stuff in a dot, smaller than an atom. I show you the references right on screen many, many times. That's what they believe.
Yeah, this is
where did the dot come from? Where did the energy come from?
Irrelevant. It's an argument from incredulity. It couldn't have been smaller than a dot kind of thing. Well, that's not what the evidence leads us to. It's very difficult to accept because it seems counterintuitive. But guess what? Counterintuitive things can actually be true. So just saying, hey, I'm incredulous, it doesn't do anything. And where did it come from? We don't know.
Exactly.
We don't know.
And that's okay. It's okay to give that answer. Because neither does Kent.
And yeah. I mean, people might go, "Are you okay with not knowing?" No, but I don't know.
I mean, I'm okay with it. I know that I or any humans are never going to know the full truth of the universe, and I accept that, But I think we've done remarkably well with the amount that we have discovered with science.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't say never know, because I've got no way to tell.
Know everything, know all the details of reality. I don't think that, because humans can only really, with with the naked eye, we can only see a very small sliver of the visible light spectrum, and I just think humans can perceive a very slim margin of the actual reality that we're in. There are scientific tools that can help with that, but I just think that I don't think we'll ever know the true truth of the universe. But I don't know if it was Einstein that said this or if it was somebody else, but I think he said something about every time that science discovers something new and it lights up some part of the darkness that is our lack of knowledge, our unawareness. But every time that you make a spot of light, you realize how big the actual amount of stuff we don't know is. You become more aware of how much you don't know the more you learn.
Yeah, that's true. But I would hesitate to put any limitation. If humans don't wipe themselves out, I would hesitate to put any limitations on what we're capable of, because we have always exceeded everything that people said was impossible.
That's true. I think. Are you an optimist?
Well, I mean, that's debatable, because I said if we don't wipe ourselves out,
right, right.
That's a big if, right? That's a massive if, and it
climate
is
change,
definitely
nukes,
biological weapons, simple, regression into uneducation and warfare.
Even solar flares, things that could wipe out the electricity grid, an EMP. That those events have happened before on Earth in small scales, but there's a massive one. Yeah. All right, let's keep going.
Laws come from to govern the universe. Why is there a law of gravity, centrifugal force, inertia, Boyle's laws? Why? Who made the laws? Anyway, they won't get it. Go ahead. Hear what he said? None of this. The sun, the planet.
They're not laws like our laws that we put on society. They're natural laws. Our laws are basically, if you do this, then you'll be punished with this. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about inherent properties of the universe. Now, you can claim they were made by a god, right? That the inherent properties of the universe were made by God. Great, go ahead. But when you say who made the laws, stop comparing them to, legal stuff, like who made the littering law. Nobody had to make it. It's an inherent property. Where did it come from? The universe could have just formed like that.
Yeah, we get Aiden in the side chat. Yeah. I've said before that Kent dislikes the laws of physics because they're the only laws that he can't break.
I like that. Oh dear. Yeah. But that's essentially it. They're not like our laws. They're natural laws, which means that they are ways that the reality that we are in happens to be organized. And maybe somebody did it, but you've got to show that, not just claim it. I can claim that it's like that because a magic badger did it. It doesn't make it true, Ken. Come on now.
The galaxy, none of it was around at the time of the Big Bang.
Oh.
He looks a little like a magic badger, actually.
Yeah, right.
Okay, where did it come from?
Well, I assume you know that protons and neutrons were quick to form. And then after...
Protons and neutrons are quick to form. Dan, where's your evidence for that? Form out of what? Out of nothing?
No,
come
out
on.
Of quantum vacuum.
Where did the protons and neutrons come from?
Yeah, so if you put a proton and an antiproton together, right, what it does is they annihilate and they make a photon, right, which is light. Okay, so reverse it the other way. If you have quantum vacuum there, with no mass, no space, no time, presumably there could be a mechanism which causes it to form a proton and an antiproton, and a neutron and an antineutron. Okay, and this is why we sort of say, and this is why Lawrence Krauss says like a universe from nothing, because with all of the negative force in the universe, including gravity and all of that kind of stuff, and the positive, it makes net zero, right? Just zero energy, because you've got positive and negative.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just really moments after the Big Bang happened, because right after the universe was way too hot for protons and neutrons to form. But you had quark gluon plasma, and once that started to cool, it basically coalesced into protons and neutrons. So that's where it came from, Ken.
Well, where'd that come from, AJ?
Don't ask me.
Yeah, we don't know. Nobody knows.
More fundamental forces, like the 4 fundamental forces of the universe were basically combined into one force at the earliest moments of the Big Bang, and then they split off. And maybe that's where they came from. I don't know. Like, don't ask me, Ken. Even Ken asks these things, but any answer that you give him, if it's not the answer he wants, he's going to hand wave it. So what's the point of even asking? You know?
Yeah.
This is one of the greatest questions I've ever seen. If we came from atoms, why are there still atoms? Well, you know, if I have bread and I make toast, why do I still have bread?
Those electrons that finally got going around those initial atoms, they're still going around really fast. Well, don't they ever get tired?
They're not going
they go around about a zillion times in a zillionth of a second.
Can't just shut up.
They're not going around. They're in a cloud. Like,
I hate this argument so much.
Yeah, because like he's thinking of it as in the, you know, the model that's shown with the electrons spinning around the atoms, but they're not. That's not what's happening there. They're actually in a cloud around it of basically where it could be. It's very strange in quantum mechanics. And like I said, I'm not a physicist, but as I understand it, that picture of the atom with the electrons rotating around is an incorrect picture.
Right. That's the image that we were showed when I was a kid in science class, and it's very incorrect because it's more like a cloud of probabilities where electrons might be, because you can know the position of electron or you can know its velocity, but you can't know both at the same time because of the Heisenberg uncertainty principle. So we can know about probabilities of where they might be, but yeah, that I can understand that model. And when I was a really young kid, a little kid, I thought that there was some really harmonious idea of like there being really small molecules. Like molecules get smaller and smaller, and they're like round ball objects, which is not accurate either. And then on the small scale, and then when you get bigger, you have planets that are like spheres, and that made sense to me. That like there was like this sliding scale, but it's not really like that. You know, things orbit planets, and then you have the outdated model of like, you know, electrons orbiting the nucleus, and it, you know, it's a cool idea, but it's not true, you know. And it's like how we teach kids the wrong primary colors too, you know, like we tell them that it's red, yellow, and blue, but really we should be telling them it's cyan, magenta, and yellow. That's why printers use CMYK, because they need to be able to print every color. And don't get me started on this shit. I'm going on an artist rant.
Tired. Where'd that energy come from? Well, anyway, you guys won't comprehend that one at all, I'm sure. Okay.
After a few minutes, they began sticking together, and we had a load of hydrogen and helium. And when I say a load, I mean a load. After all that, it was just a matter of time. Stellar.
So all of a sudden, you got a load of atoms running around. Coming from what, Dan? Coming from what?
He told you, you idiot.
See, I admit, I believe God did it. You guys will not admit you had a magic. But
there are lots of Christians that believe the same things that SciManDan does, and they're based on evidence and scientific data. not.
But does Hovind consider them real Christians? That's
Probably
the question. Because,
not
yeah,
if they're
probably not.
Catholics, then definitely not. You know.
Oh, really? He doesn't think Catholics are Christians,
No.
even though they're the original. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that if you discount all Catholics as being Christian, that would mean that by population, Islam is the dominant religion on Earth.
Well, you can still split that up into Sunni and Shiite.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, by sheer numbers, Christianity is the most popular religion on Earth, and Islam is second. But if you take out all those Catholics, then Islam becomes first. And I don't think Kent would be very happy with that notion. You know what I mean? I just think it's funny. I
don't think Kent's very happy with much.
I don't know. He seems pretty pleased with himself most of the time.
Well, yeah, that's true. That is true.
He's very smug.
Yeah.
Atoms got formed. You believe in magic. It's a stupid religion. But that's okay. I don't mind you having that religion. I do mind having to pay to have that dumb idea taught to all the kids in schools and public, or any tax-funded universities and parks and museums. You guys ought to fund your own religion. I do mine. I don't ask you to pay for mine. Anyway,
really,
nucleosynthesis, all the good stuff,
or is it
a lot of matter come into existence out of nothing?
People that he cons funding it. Like, does he actually fund it himself? No, he relies on donations and people sending money and buy my DVDs and all of this kind of crap. He doesn't. Yeah.
This is how they start their stupid fairy tale, and everybody falls for it. The title of his program is "We need something about get away from religion." Okay, well, evolution is a religion. Carl Pagan's program, we need to get science away from religion. Okay, take evolution out. It's real simple. Evolution. I love science, and science is wonderful. But they've mixed evolution in with it for so long, they think it's part of it. Like I say, look, beer is sold at football games. Beer has nothing to do with football. And you could take beer out of football.
I hate this argument so much.
Well, a question that I've asked Kent directly, and he is absolutely flabbergasted and just like he hasn't been able to answer, is if evolution is a religion, what is the object or the thing of worship in this religion, right? Because we don't worship anything in evolution. In fact, there's a lot of evolutionary principles, like, say, our fight, flight, freeze, fawn response, for instance, our fear response, which is kind of, it's a inconvenient truth. Like, it really doesn't serve us very well. It kind of sucks. The way that it works on us, things like aggression, things like, there's all these evolutionary byproducts which aren't necessarily great for modern living in the current time. So what do we worship? And the only answer I've managed to get from Kent is, he says time. And nobody's worshiping time. Like, who's actually going and saying, well, thank you, time, for giving us this evolution? Nobody's doing this. So Kent has to come up with something that is worshipped in that model, or else he's got literally nothing that it's a religion. Some object, entity, something that we prioritize as part of that religion. And it's not a religion because there is nothing. We're basically saying, hey, this is how we came about. Nobody's worshipping it. Nobody.
Right.
Ball games and still play the game. Did you know that? Yeah. You can still have science without evolution. It's not part of the theory. It's a religion. That's all it is.
Well,
you guys should get away from it.
You can still have science without physics either, but what are you talking? You can still have science without computer science. Okay, but you're missing a part of science. Like it's just such a dumb argument.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all of his arguments are dumb, but
yeah, I mean, if I'm doing computer science, I'm not using evolutionary basis for that. Like, I'm just doing, that is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard said.
Yeah, seriously.
That's why we have multiple fields, Kent. Holy crap, dude.
At the time of the Big Bang, there.
We have Bill backstage.
Turn on the lamp.
Oh. Okay.
Hey, Atheist Junior.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello.
Do I know you?
You don't. I'm in Dallas, just up the road from you.
Oh, okay. Do you have a channel?
I don't, but I'm going to be on Eric Hovind's Creation Today channel tomorrow at noon.
Oh, really?
Oh, I make fun of him often.
Yeah. Yeah. We did a whole
Hasn't
stream
he
about him
gone-
talking about sex ed.
Oh, wow. But
Hasn't he
I
gone
went to
priest-up?
DAL, and I guess I was wrong. I thought I was the first atheist to go there at 2023.
No, no.
But
Oh,
so I was
no.
wrong on that. But anyway,
Grayson went.
I'm sorry
Yeah.
if I was harsh on you in the chat. I was about to
I can
write
that
to you, but
because I don't want to say something that's not right. But actually, they were. I told them. I said, "Look, I want to be up front. I'm an atheist. If you guys don't want me here, fine." And they said, "No, come on over." And I got there late. They fed me dinner, and they couldn't have been more nicer. But what you guys don't get is we did the tour with one of his admirers, and my Lord, it's like he walks on water. They
Yeah.
just
Oh, really?
Hovind, yeah.
To them?
yes, they just
I see. Yeah.
and they're not real sophisticated. They don't know nuances just out the window. Okay, so
You don't say.
but I see you guys were talking about physics. One of the people always go the Kalam. I'm so sick of the Kalam cosmological. There's better evidences Christians could use, like the strong nuclear force which holds the protons and neutrons together, is a good evidence. Because if it's too,
Well, not according to Kent.
Well, he's talking about
Kent
the
says that Jesus is the one who holds them together.
Well,
Jesus.
he's talking about the teleological argument, which basically says the fine-tuning argument, essentially, that it has to be a certain amount, or else the universe could not formed as it was. And I think that is the strongest argument that they have. I don't think it's that compelling, because with a sample size of one universe, we don't know how likely it is for that to form. For instance, it may be inevitable for a universe to form that the strong nuclear force has to be at that range, and then it wouldn't be improbable at all. It would be inevitable, but we don't know that. We don't know if there is a multiverse. We don't know how many universes have formed. We don't know what a universe with a different strong nuclear force would actually look like. I mean, we can hypothesize, but we can't actually know because we haven't seen one. So
I mean, wouldn't it? Sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, wouldn't it, in a sense, be inevitable for a universe to form, given the fact that we have only a sample size of one, and the universe has formed with life in it?
Well, the question isn't whether it's inevitable to form. Obviously, one has formed or one has come about in some way. Obviously, that's the case because we're here.
Yeah.
The question is it inevitable for it to form with the current parameters that we see in the local presentation of the universe around us? That's the question, right? Could a universe form with different constants and be subject to completely different natural laws?
well,
We don't know.
You've just articulated very well the atheist objection. But here's the universe we do have. If the strong nuclear force is 2% weaker or stronger, then you don't get hydrogen. So obviously, hydrogen is important for H2O, water, and for stars to burn, you need hydrogen, as you guys just said. If it's 5% weaker, you don't get the periodic table. So those are very strong, compelling arguments for something behind this thing. The other one that's so compelling is the Pauli exclusion principle, where these electrons have got to inhabit certain shells and orbits, 2 in the first, 8 in the second, 8 in the third, and it's like, why is that so? Why, and for that matter, why do we have an electromagnetic force, as weak and strong nuclear force, and a gravitational force? Why are those? And the atheist objection is they're brute facts.
Well, I don't think I'd appeal to brute fact. I mean, I am aware that some people would, but the question is, if you changed a lot of the constants, if you changed the gravitational constant, if you changed the weak and strong nuclear, if you changed all of these around, could some form of universe occur? And that I don't think anybody has an answer to. We could say that the universe definitely would not follow the natural laws that we see around us, right? But the question is, would a universe with some natural laws, even some that might be completely different than what we're operating under, form? And nobody knows, because we don't have any examples of any of these. And the other question is, if it requires sort of protons and neutrons to form, perhaps from a quark gluon, what we used to say, a quark gluon plasma is what AJ was talking about, then perhaps the only way that can happen is under certain physical constraints that would lead to the outcomes that we're talking about. And that's what I'm talking about when I'm sort of saying, is it inevitable for a universe to form under these specific conditions? And if those specific conditions would always lead to the stronger nuclear forces being in balance in the way that we're talking about, then it's inevitable that the universe that we have would come about. But what I want to sort of say to you, Bill, is that I don't know that for sure. These are just speculation on my part, because I don't think anybody knows. We don't know enough about the origin of the universe to even start to make that kind of designation. And that doesn't cover multiverse, whether if there are multiple universes, some of which have just collapsed in on themselves because the stronger nuclear force was too great or too weak, or just it was a failed universe, then ours is not a high probability. A low probability. It's actually a high probability, because if you have trillions and trillions of universes, one forming with these constraints is almost a certainty.
No,
but we don't know if there's multiple multiverse either. We don't know that. Nobody knows.
But one of the great physicists, Richard Feynman, said that, are you familiar with the fine structure constant?
No, I'm not. You might have to tell that.
He said that everybody should put this number 1/137, or all the physicists should put this number on the board and worry that it is such a profound number, because it governs the electromagnetic force and the forces between electrons and so forth. And it's just in several places in physics. And here's one of the great physicists of the last century who just says physicists should put this paste this number up, and to show their ignorance. So if this is blowing them away, should it blow us away?
Yeah. So I think so, but I'm pretty much. I turned on the Hovind video because I didn't think we needed to hear Hovind talk anymore. But I was thinking about wrapping the stream up. Did you guys have any final comments you wanted to make? Did we learn anything from watching this video, Mark? Are we worse off or better off for having watched it? What do you think?
I think Mark has connectivity issues, maybe?
Yeah, I did.
Maybe.
Yeah, it said I disconnected for some reason. I'm very sorry. I do apologize.
It's okay.
I'm not sure what happened there.
I was having issues earlier myself. I was just minding my own business on stream, and then my computer literally just hard crashes. So that's fun.
Sorry, Bill. So you've got this constant which has significance, right? It has a lot of significance.
Very,
you said,
yes.
Yeah, and Feynman sort of has said, hey, this is a very significant number. I get that. But what does that mean?
Here's the problem. If this fine structure constant is off by 4%, you don't have oxygen and carbon. It is crucial to the electron orbit, to holding these electrons away from the nucleus. By the way, before I forget, AJ, if you would like to go meet me at DAL, I will meet you there and introduce you to Kent and all the and Eric and everybody else, and they would love to have you. It actually was a fantastic experience. I mean, it's kind of weird. I met a guy
I have no desire to go to DAL, so I'll pass on that. Thank you.
All right. I met a guy. You stay in the
Yeah,
bunker.
look, Bill, I'm not sure that Kent would be as receptive to somebody like AJ as he would be to other people. He does not approve of AJ's lifestyle and has been very, very mean to him in the past.
Oh, so, obviously, but I thought he invited AJ a couple.
He invites literally everybody he talks to.
Yeah.
Or even people he doesn't talk to. He invites everybody he talks about to, come visit Dinosaur Adventureland. You can come sit on my lap. We'll have a debate. But when Grayson went there, he had a nice time for the most part. But what he was very off-put by was not only the real tour and Kent's driving, but also when Kent and Sandra, when Sandra was still there, took Grayson out to dinner, and Kent, in the middle of the conversation, just busts out this rampant homophobia, and Grayson was just like, whoa, like, why are you even bringing this up? You know what I mean? So I have no desire to go to DAL. If I do end up going to the ARC protest, Kent is allegedly going to be there. I'll meet him in person there. So
well, it's very frustrating dealing with Kent, because one thing they could do at DAL, because they got all sorts of land, is do a disc golf course. Young people.
That's actually an idea. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
The young Christians love disc golf. It's a 25-year-old thing. It's not an older. Well, some older people do too. But when you go there, 2 to 5, it is just quiet, boring as.
Yeah. Bill, Kent doesn't like games. He doesn't like sports. He doesn't like any kind of sort of anything that is fun, not associated with Christianity and worship, basically. So he doesn't approve of video games. He doesn't approve of sports. He doesn't approve of any of this stuff. So,
yeah, I'm a little bit confused because you told me you're an atheist, but you really seem to be polishing Kent's knob talking about DAL. Why is that?
Well, tomorrow at noon, I'm having a crisis of faith. I'll go explain.
You have a planned out schedule when you're gonna have a crisis?
Well, I think he's saying he has a crisis of faith at the moment. Like, is that what you're saying, Bill?
He's making an announcement on Eric's channel tomorrow noon.
Oh, I see. Because
Eric is a friend. Like I said, I have a hard time with Kent. As nice as he was to me, he doesn't.
You can judge a person by their friends. I don't know if I would be friends with Eric Hovind.
Eric,
I don't think Eric
been great to me. He put me up at his house. He took me to dinner.
Well, Jeffrey Dahmer brought people to his house, his apartment.
Yeah, so that's basically what I was going to say. Don't misconstrue someone inviting you to their home for them being good people.
Yeah, because Kent thrives on that. Like, he goes out of his way to, do that, to, be inviting people and to sort of, grease the wheels. Like, he takes people out to dinner. He is very, easy when it comes to giving out money to people, but which is really not his money to give out. That's donations that should be going to ministry work. And he does that to kind of, grease the wheels of social interaction so he can kind of get what he wants. I think it's the tactic. And I understand, like, he seems like his intentions are nice, but I think what he's doing is nice, but I think the motivations behind it are a little bit sinister.
Yes.
Yeah, it's like when he sort of says to people, come and stay at Dinosaur Adventureland. If you're there for any amount of time past a few days, he'll put you to work. And he says
right. And it's like, is Chris Jones going to be staying there when I go visit? You know what I mean? That's another thing.
And he doesn't pay these people. They're volunteers, but he makes it very clear that if they stay there, they're working. So I'm not sure how much it's
you just reminded me. When we were there, and this is what's great about actually being there, is though his secretary, get this, guys, was an evolutionist. And I went, why does he let you stay here? And she goes, he's okay with it. So that does say something about Kent. People are complex and nuanced.
Who is his secretary?
It was a couple years ago. I went there before Grayson did, so I don't even know if she's still there, but I couldn't believe it when she said that.
So does any of it worry you that sort of it is registered as a homeless shelter? and people are being put to work building and repairing things without sort of getting paid anything. Does that worry you at all?
When I was in the bunkhouse, you share a bunkhouse with 3 or 4 other people, and Titus, he calls Titus at 3 a.m. to give him a back rub or something, and Titus just jumps up and goes. I mean, and you get a feel for people. Are they doing this? They just
wait a second. You're saying that Kent contacted another man at 3 a.m. for a back rub? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because he has a bad back.
How old is this other guy?
Oh, he's like 28 or so. But I talk to these people, and they don't. They seem to love.
Bro, you're weird, Bill. You're weird. I don't like you.
Bill, look, if
I don't like you at all.
If I'm working for somebody, okay, if I'm working for somebody, I have scheduled hours of work, and I'm not getting out at 3 a.m. to go give somebody a back rub. The fact that this is happening is really worrying. Like, this is what I'm talking about. This isn't suggesting that he is doing charity work in a homeless shelter to help people get on their feet. This seems manipulative and exploitative, that he is taking advantage of their religious convictions to service himself. When I
was there with a girl named Bobby, I think, who's still there, she showed me a picture of her being a drug addict and how.
What does that mean? What does that mean specifically? I'm just curious.
She showed me a picture where she looked like crap, and now he's
that's kind of rude.
Right-hand man. I remember when he had to tell people, "Look, you got."
How do you know she was a drug addict just because she looked bad? Maybe she was tired.
Well, she probably said so. People get into these circumstances a lot.
I'm just trying to get the details.
Get a feel for people. So she was like Kent's right-hand man. When I took the Science Center tour, there was a guy there that gave me the tour. Now Bobby was giving the tours. But Kent said, look, you got to tell these people that drank on property, they've got to leave DAL. So she went, and I saw her say, look, you got to leave. So do you see what I'm saying? There's people that are vying for.
You know that's not a real science center, though, right? Do you know that? It's not an actual science center.
Here's the thing. Danny Faulkner, who they love, because he's a real astronomer that taught at South Carolina, now retired. He's a young Earth creationist, but he says, our big problem is the light travel problem. And even Ken Ham has admitted that that just is a deal breaker, guys.
Well, Faulkner has to appeal to miracles. I covered one of his things in the past, and he basically says, well, there must be some sort of miracle. And that was talking with Eric Hovind, who was trying to say maybe light was faster outside the solar system, and Faulkner just shot him down, said, no, that cannot happen. That is not a thing. He has to say a miracle is what occurred, and that's a very, very tenuous position for a scientist to take, because if you chalk things up to miracle, then science is out the window. Like, you can just throw it away right there, because you can explain anything in terms of a miracle. So Faulkner, I found him to be more honest than your average sort of guy that presents science from DAL or Answers in Genesis or any of these places. At least he was willing to say, hey, this is a massive problem that we have to appeal to something supernatural. So yeah.
And Hugh Ross, by the way, said he likes Danny Faulkner because he is honest, where someone like Jason Lau, who went to get a PhD in astronomy just so he could promote young Earth creationism, that is dishonest, and that needs to be called out. And plus, Jason Lau says light goes real fast one way and real slow the other way. Nobody believes this. Okay.
No.
So
it's just sort of nonsense.
Yeah.
But Bill, I do apologize, but with everything that Kent has done, why are you still promoting DAL as a place to go? Like, considering what has happened there, considering that you've got, Chris Jones, who brought up earlier, who was preying on children in the place, or, bringing children to the place. And Kent Hovind has been convicted of domestic violence and is currently appealing. I don't know when the court's looking at that, but that's the last I heard about it. Why are you promoting this place which has such obvious issues with it?
Well, I'm just giving you my personal experience there. And I went there a couple times, and not everybody on the staff was just extremely nice to me. It was funny when
But
I first got
I
there.
mean, that's how cults work.
Yeah.
And you're going to see that when you meet people that are associated with cults, they are oftentimes very nice. People who are being taken advantage of by people like Kent are going to be, for the most part, very empathetic and kind people.
Yeah.
We are not here to say that everyone at DAL is a bad person, because that is not true. But the question still remains, why would anyone promote or even suggest, well, you should go to DAL to meet these nice people, when we know that Kent is close friends with a convicted PDF file who abused a child at DAL under
That was
Kent's
adjacent
watch.
to, yeah.
Oh, let me explain. Okay. When I was there, he let me, Kent and I had a discussion where he asked me questions, and all the people there asked really good questions about the Bible, fine tuning, whatever. And so if you go there, these people don't get the outside, like you said, there's no video games, no TV in the bunkhouse. They don't get other views. So it's a chance for you to articulate why you believe what you believe.
Sure. Yeah, no, I get that. But you're sort of promoting that everybody visit and meet the nice people. The problem is that we know, like, as soon as somebody goes against Kent's narrative of being this amazing person that does all this fantastic stuff, he boots them from the property. You talk to, say, Mark Stoney, for instance. He used to be Kent's right-hand man. And Kent did a vicious attack on him, saying that he'd been thrown out of the military for being crazy. Not true. He showed his discharge papers. He then said that he was thrown out of the military, but not for being crazy, for these other reasons. No, he wasn't. He had an honorable discharge. He
because he
served
had
his country.
Exactly. He served his country. He served the time he was supposed to serve, and he suffered for it.
And you
for
have a
Kent
long...
Sorry,
Yeah,
go ahead.
sorry, go ahead. Well, you just have a long line of people with the same thing, like Mark Stoney saying, hey, he pretends to be your best friend in the world, and he's highly manipulative, and if you don't support him, he will attack you viciously. And that's exactly what his ex-wives have said. It's exactly what other people said. So it is my opinion. I listen to these people who know him personally and say, yes, this friendliness, this encouragement, it is like I did an interview with Mark Stoney, and it is that cult-like behavior, basically making you feel so wanted and that you're part of their group. The problem is that as soon as you do not follow that line, that is when they turn nasty. And that is based upon things that people have said to me from all over the place. And so I just feel like sort of coming in and saying, how, well, they're nice. Yeah, they are nice. They want people to come in and give donations and work on their stuff for free, because don't forget, he doesn't pay anybody. This was a problem he had back in his old place.
What was the date when you visited DAL for the first time?
2023, I think. It was about 6 months before Grayson went there.
Okay.
Right.
So, but it's only, as an atheist, I've debated Christians at New Orleans Baptist Church, at Baptist conventions, Baptist churches, and the people have...
Any on YouTube debates with Christians?
Oh, well, you can go to my Atheist Christian Book Club and see. We've had Bart Ehrman on, Dale Allison. And one thing I try to preach is New Testament scholarship, which they're just not going to have any of it. That, the way to understand Jesus is by...
You try to preach.
That since 1905, Albert Schweitzer, he's been best understood as an apocalyptic prophet who had a bad weekend in Jerusalem. And Dale Allison and Bart Ehrman both preach that gospel. That's the way but they just see, it's just, for 6 years, well, for 20 years, I've been on this young earth, old earth debate for years. I've been preaching this gospel. And
hold on, Bill, stop. Bart Ehrman does not preach anything, okay? He is a reputable biblical scholar, and most of the things that he says is actually consensus among biblical scholars.
Oh, I couldn't agree more.
Right?
I spoke. I'm sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird you keep saying preach, because generally, preaching, I get, preaching is kind of like ranting. But
yeah, giving a preach around,
No, it was a wrong word. Really odd that two of the top scholars, and everybody knows Bart Ehrman, but very few people know Dale Allison. If you could ever get him on, what's so great about him is he says, "Oh my gosh, I don't believe the birth narratives." Oh, and those.
Well, Bill, when you say you're an atheist, I don't believe you.
Well, I'm having a crisis, guys. Okay.
What does that?
What does that mean?
The reason I'm having it is the fine-tuning argument.
Wait, so you have impressive faith. What is your faith? What do you have a religion? You're a Christian?
No, of
Well,
course.
you said he was an atheist.
You said you're having a crowd. Can you, an atheist, have a crisis of faith?
Yeah, I don't get that either.
So I think you're just using
saying the faith thing. Oh,
rhetorically.
A lot of times I say things
Rhetorically.
okay. Problem.
I shouldn't say that word.
But
it's fitting in this situation.
So with the fine tuning, we assume so the assumption that things are fine tuned for us has a number of fatal flaws. And the first one is we have no idea what the probability, people will say, hey, the probability of this thing is really low, but we don't know how probable it is for these things to come out as they are. Nobody does, right? Nobody does. In fact, Stephen Hawking said that
dark matter and dark energy, of course, yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, Stephen Hawking would basically said that, hey, multiverse completely destroys the fine-tuning argument. If multiverse is true, which we don't know if it is or if it isn't, that's the whole point. There is so many unknowns in this. But if multiverse is true, then fine-tuning's out the window, because if there's trillions and trillions of universes, it's almost certain that one would come out with these parameters. But we don't know that. We don't know how the universe formed. So this idea that what you're doing at the moment is what's called an appeal to ignorance. Because we don't know, then it must have been God. And this is a logical fallacy. It's sort of saying, well, we don't know who built the pyramids, therefore we do, Deviant. Don't get angry at me.
Thank you.
But we don't know who built the pyramid or how they built the pyramids. It's got to be aliens, right? So if you don't know something, it doesn't mean that any explanation is a good one. It needs its own evidence for that. So you can't just say, hey, we don't know why these variables are the way that they are, therefore God must have set them that way. No, we don't know why the variables are the way that they are, therefore we don't know why the variables are the way that they are, because there are unlimited other explanations for that. That it could be just the natural way that universe is formed, that it could be some kind of mystical force out there that isn't a god, but isn't natural either. There's a billion explanations that it could be apart from the universe forming this way. And we don't know which one it is.
Let me just say your logic is impeccable and well thought out. You're from Australia, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
What's caused this whole crisis is Luke Barnes, who is a physicist from astrophysicist, theoretical physicist from Australia, who teaches there and has written a book called A Fortunate Universe.
Yes, I'm familiar.
Yep. Are you familiar with it? Okay, that's what's causing my problem. Does that make sense?
Yes. But the problem is that when a scientist actually wants to show something, they don't write a book. Okay, this is why Lawrence Krauss's book is sort of not sort of in academia as what you do is you publish a paper.
Exactly.
Right, to have it peer reviewed. You don't just write a book. And this is something that Dr. Jay Bundy, who has worked at the Lenski Labs, has brought up. These guys know damn well the way to get your scientific ideas out into the world is not to write a book. They know damn well that's the case.
Yeah.
But all they're doing is writing books, and they're not actually publishing papers. If you want it to be accepted in science, you publish the damn paper. And they're not doing so, which is why Dr. J, and I kind of agree with him, says that some of these people are really disingenuous, because people like, who's the evolution guy who created the Jensen and I can't remember his name. He did the gene gun. I can't remember the guy's name. Anyway, they know that they should be publishing papers in order to get their stuff accepted as scientific fact. It needs to be published and peer reviewed. They're not doing that. They're doing books. They're going on AIG. They're going on Kent Hovind's channel. They're going on all of these channels trying to force their scientific opinion by non-expert, average person consensus. And they damn well know that's not the way to do it. And that's why we kind of see them as dishonest. Because they should be publishing.
Michael Strauss, who works at CERN 6 months out of the year. So I would think he might have published a couple papers. He teaches at Oklahoma University. And as far as Luke, I don't know if he's published.
You can publish a paper in one subject, and then you also have this other side of yourself. Like, for instance, there is this quote unquote Egyptologist. I mean, he does have a legitimate PhD, which is very sad, because he's also very extremely dishonest. He has a YouTube channel. I'm not going to, well, I could say who it is, but his name is David Falk. He is also I think he might be old Earth Christian.
Well,
but
he goes hard to be young Earth and an Egyptologist, to be honest with you.
Yeah, but he goes on these Christian channels and talking about the Exodus. And the thing is that he claims that there are all of these evidence of the Exodus in Egypt,
but won't publish them.
Exactly, he does not publish them. And there is a reason why he doesn't publish them, but he does publish the work that he actually does in academia.
Right.
So just unfortunately, there are people who have legitimate degrees and so forth, who uses them to confuse the argument.
Well, guys,
support.
Who was it invented the gene gun? Oh, Sanford. Yeah, it's Sanford, right? So Sanford did a number of papers earlier in his career which were under the old Earth paradigm, right? Like, he just did normal, work and stuff. And I'm not saying you're not allowed to change your opinion, but he hasn't published anything for young Earth. And that's sort of what I'm saying. Just because you publish some papers, A, it doesn't mean that all of your work is valid. And B, it doesn't mean that you haven't changed your mind and, gone down a road which has led to something that isn't peer reviewed and isn't scientific. So that's the difference. We want them to publish and they won't.
Well, I have an you can answer, Bill, but before that, I have a very important question for you once you have said what you want to say, just so you know.
Go ahead.
Go. Oh yeah, I was gonna say, maybe it's not a question, but well, it is. My question is, how much do you know about cults and cult manipulation tactics? How much have you read about it? Do you know anything about it? Some do, some don't. So that's what I'm asking.
Well, it's interesting. Watchman Fellowship, which is my opposite. He's the Christian. I'm the atheist side of the book club. Their specialty is cults. But
okay.
By the way, I want to mention something. Here's our problem, Mark.
Oh, okay.
And our problem is called the layman's dilemma. And what it is we have to have people like Kurt Wise, who's a legitimate PhD from Harvard, the problem is, how can we argue with these guys who know much more about genetics or physics. Like take Danny Faulkner. He knows way more than I'll ever know about astrophysicists. So I have this layman's dilemma where I believe I'm right. He believes, crazy things, but he knows more than I. Does that make sense, Mark?
Yeah. So we don't use science by appealing to any one scientist. That's not how it works. That's an appeal to authority. Science is done by consensus among the experts in the field. Usually the experts are acknowledged by the various institutions that have set up that scientific endeavors. So you have the National Institute of Health, you have various museums, all part of institutions around there. So we go by consensus, what they agree on, basically. And that doesn't mean to say they're absolutely correct. But what it does mean is that we have more of a chance of being correct by following the consensus than following any one individual. Because generally one individual can make horrendous mistakes all over the place. But generally the consensus will strive to find the truth simply by competition among the individuals in there. Whoever can prove their work and have other experts say, hey, yes, this is correct, is usually the one that is correct. And that's how science works, by consensus among experts.
No, well said. I agree. That's very, I agree with that 100%.
So the reason I was asking you about cults and cult manipulation tactics is because you say that you have a crisis of faith, so to speak, and I get that can happen to people. What that tells me is that for one reason or another, and you do absolutely not have to tell us why, I'm just stating this as a fact, there is something in your life that makes you more vulnerable at this particular time, which is why I would implore you to be very careful about people, because I'm sure you would agree with me when I say that people like Kent, people like Eric Hovind, they are not the majority of Christianity. Kent and DAL is a de facto cult. He is a cult leader. I don't know enough about Eric to say whether or not, but he definitely skirts the confines of a cult. And people like that are experts at taking advantage of someone who is in a vulnerable position. And I do not want that to happen to you. I don't want it to happen to anyone, of course, but I don't want it to happen to you. So there are a lot of people out there who are Christians who are not in these cult environments. And I hope you don't take ill from me saying that.
Absolutely not. No.
Good.
Yeah.
And I hope you take it to heart.
Sure. Thanks.
Bill, can I ask you if you've deconstructed in the past?
Yeah, I've been an atheist for 20 years. I was born again Christian. So yeah, I was a Christian for about 20 years. And what's caused me to doubt my faith was the young earth, old earth controversy, where these people are telling me that, like you guys said, the universe is 6,000 years old. It's nuts. So then I ran into Bart Ehrman. Someone in Sunday school class said Bart Ehrman is going to be at the Barnes & Noble. So within an hour, I know nothing about New Testament scholarship. So I read every book he wrote, read Dale Allison's. And what's frustrating is these guys are never going to look at Dale Allison. Okay. And if they would see that you could still be a Christian and doubt the birth narratives, doubt the post-resurrection appearances, have trouble with the empty tomb. You can have all those doubts and questions and still be a Christian,
I mean, sure, you can have doubts and still be a Christian. Absolutely. I guess, it depends what kind, like, so there's certain people that claim to be Christian that other Christians would say they're not. Probably, Jehovah's Witnesses and what's one I'm thinking of? Latter-day Saints, the Mormons kind of thing, that say that they're Christian.
Obviously,
and other Christians say that they're not, kind of thing. So
right.
yeah, no, I have no doubt about that. I'm just wondering why, you would be having a crisis of conscience, or as I say, a crisis of faith over the fine-tuning problem, which is sort of, it's an unknown, but it doesn't actually, if you think about it, it doesn't actually point to a God.
Right.
Well, you heard of James Tour, correct?
Oh, yes, yeah.
He goes to churches and he specifically says it is evidence of God, that the problems with origin of life, getting a polysaccharide off the ground, getting all these DNA and so forth. So they do say that this does point to God.
Of course, but a cantaloupe would point them to God if they thought anyone would buy it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll use the example of who was the guy that did the Human Genome Project?
Collins, Language of God.
Right. So the thing that made him believe in God wasn't any scientific stuff that he's talking about. It was because he sort of saw a waterfall splitting into three.
Is that not
right? Yeah, and that reminded him of the Trinity, and that's why he believes in God. So, and don't get me wrong, he's entitled to his personal beliefs, right? But when you're doing science, you kind of leave that at the door.
Yeah.
Even atheists have to leave at the door. Well, there is, just say you're an atheist that believes that it was some spiritual force, but not a God that did. You still have to leave that at the door. We simply work on the observations of the physical world that we see around us. So that is why they're not publishing this stuff, because they can't actually get a scientific rationale for why they believe it. And rather, it is based upon their faith. It is their religion. And they know that they can't support their religion in science, so they go around in churches and say it. And they're entitled to their personal belief, but there's no reason why, if they can't prove something scientifically, we should take their opinion on things above anybody else's opinion out there. Because if you are a scientist, you're an expert in one field, there are other scientists in that field that say, hey, it's got nothing to do with a God. So whose opinion do we take? Well, generally we go with the scientific one because that can be demonstrated to be true, while the non-scientific opinion of creationists can't be demonstrated to be true. And so it is getting the evidence for what you believe. That is what skepticism is. You withhold your belief until you find sufficient evidence to justify it. And sort of saying, well, we don't know exactly how life came about. We don't know exactly how the universe came about. That is not demonstrating a God. That is simply pointing out areas that we lack knowledge in. That's all.
Right. By the way, Francis Collins is a theistic evolutionist. But here's our problem, is to talk about the Bible and creation and this sort of thing. You need to know about Hebrew, Greek, paleontology, obviously,
Why?
Know about genetics is huge. You look at Swami Das, who thinks that Adam and Eve was 6,000 years ago, and he's a legitimate PhD. You need to know about chemistry, and obviously what we've talked about tonight, physics. There's so many fields that impact.
No, you don't. No, you don't. No, all you've got to know is what people who are experts say about it. Right? Like, that's the thing. Like, all you need to know is the scientific consensus on, like, you don't need to know ancient Greek. You just need to know what the overwhelming consensus of scholars say about that. Like, so Bart Ehrman, there's religious scholars that will say, hey, Christians that will say, hey, that the flood story never happened. Like, it's just mythology, because they're working on, and Moses, for instance, like the Exodus, there is no chance that actually happened at all.
I was gonna ask, what do you know about the facts, what the factual evidence of or lack thereof for the biblical Exodus?
Oh, well, obviously Moses never existed, and he didn't. This is what drives me crazy, guys. Is
so how
wait a
can
minute.
how can you be how?
Wait a
Okay,
minute.
sorry. Go
Dennis,
ahead. Yeah, of course. I'm sorry.
by several authors. It's the Wellhausen, theory that priestly writer wrote in the 6th century BC, the Yahwehist writer 1000 BC. These writers, there's Genesis 1 actually ends on Genesis 1:4, and it's written by the P writer, the J writer, God's more anthropomorphic, and so forth. So it's a different writer altogether. And what drives me crazy with atheists is that the Noah flood thing is a blended narrative. If you don't understand Hebrew, you can't understand where the P writers has like 7 animals, the J writer has 2 animals.
But here's the important part. The important part here is that you know that this person never existed.
I'm pretty sure.
No, but you're correct. I'm an Egyptologist, which is why I say it so confidently.
Good.
So you do know this, but you're still contemplating to a faith that is built upon the Mosaic laws, which Moses supposedly was given by God on Mount Ararat when these people who never existed fled from Egypt in an exodus that never happened.
Of course. But here's the thing, guys. When I was visiting, you visit DAL, and Eric's just down the road at Pensacola, Florida. So I was on his show, and I said, Eric, Moses didn't exist. It doesn't get historical to David. So his viewers got to hear that. Are you with me? They got to hear.
Of course, but that doesn't. You said that you had a crisis of faith, and it sounded to me, I could be wrong, but it sounded to me very much like you are contemplating Christianity.
No, absolutely not. I know too much. Like James Torp, I emailed him, and here's the guy that makes rookie mistakes. I said, you do realize we have a contradiction. This is the resurrection of Jesus Christ, where Acts and Luke have him in Jerusalem for 40 days. In Matthew and Mark, he tells them to go and meet him in Galilee. So they don't understand some of the most basic things in New Testament scholarship. So it's the Moses thing, for example, like you're saying, that it's just getting through to these people is extremely frustrating.
Of course. I would like to point to Atheist Junior's message there that he's going to, and he wrote it some time ago, he's going to end the stream in what is now about 6 minutes, just so you know.
Thanks, Davian. Yeah, I forgot to mention that.
Well, by the way, this has been very enjoyable talking to you guys, and I hope you watch me tomorrow at noon, and I hope this has just been fantastic. And as for
noon, what time zone? Because I'm sort of 12 hours from Eastern, so
I think it's EST.
Eastern 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, that reminds me, I need to be there earlier. Shoot, I forgot about that. Or maybe I don't know what, it's 12 something. It's either going to be like 11, 12, or 1, I guess. Yeah, somewhere in that. Yeah,
it's if it's on the same time zone as DAL and Florida and so forth, it's EST.
Oh, where do you live?
Eric's channel? Eric's channel's Creation Today. Is Creation Today is his channel?
Yes.
Okay. Scheduled for it's 1 in the morning my time. I'm really sorry, Bill. I don't think I'm going to be making that, mate.
You can watch the tape, but there's an example of why you need to go places. When I went to visit Eric, it's like his sister goes, "Hey, Bill, how you doing? Come on in." His brother's doing the video. His mom, everybody's on the payroll. So you don't get that.
The nepotism is off the charts.
No, well, I mean, look, people run family business, but it sounds like to me, Bill, and just let me run this by you. It sounds like that you're really admiring of the community and the sort of, as you'd call it in Christianity, the fellowship kind of thing, even though you know it's not true. You seem to sort of say, hey, but there's this fellowship there.
As you know, they got a lock-on community. What's really sad, I'm in Dallas, Texas. We have...
Really? I'm in San Antonio.
I know, AJ.
Did you guys have thunderstorms last night where you live?
We did, bad.
It was crazy weather. It was,
but
it looked crazy.
Here's the problem with our groups in Dallas. I go to the Metroplex Atheist old guys, and then you got the one weird old guy. Then I go to the Atheist Book Club.
Isn't that you? That's your role? In this stream it is. No, I appreciate you coming on. It's been an interesting discussion. Thank you, Mark and Deviant, too. It's been a really good panel, I think.
Oh,
I'm glad we didn't just talk about Kent, too. You know, I'm glad we got to have a little discussion at the end as well. You know?
And by the way, I come to San Antonio. I'd love to come down and meet with you and, take
sure, it's great. Great city.
Yeah. Well, I think the important point takeaway is sort of how can we be more accepting and welcoming to people who do want that community? I've been sort of talking about how atheism, it's kind of splitting into camps at the moment of, and I was watching, who was it? Matt Delahunty on Jackson Wheat's channel, sort of talking about how like we've got this sort of very right-wing atheist thing and then more progressive and humanist atheists that sort of, want, like Sagan of Akkad is an atheist and, he's absolutely terrible.
Right.
So I really want to promote the idea of secular humanism as a sort of, alternative to Christian, these Christian values that seem nice at first, but as soon as you are a sinner or are not conforming to their expectations, they can turn real nasty real quick. And there's been studies that yes, Christians do charity, probably more charity because they give to their churches, but it's only to Christians and they basically leave everybody else out in the cold. Atheists are more likely to be charitable to anybody, no matter what their background, whether it be Muslim, Hindi, Christian, another atheist. To us, they're all the same, right? Because they're all human, they're all people, and so are deserving of, help and encouragement and all of those things. So I really want to promote secular humanism as a way to look at the world rather than atheism.
By the way, Atheist, we have been watching you for years, for 2 or 3 years.
Oh, really? You have?
Oh, God,
you got a mouse in your pocket? I'm just kidding.
My girlfriend will go and yell at the TV.
Oh, okay.
Right, AJ. Help me. It's a crooked. So we're big, huge fans. So, and I really want to thank you. Do yeah, absolutely.
I'm a fan too. I got to admit.
Thank you. It's always nice at meeting people or interacting with people who appreciate the content I make. So thank you.
Do a great job.
Keeps me humble.
Yeah. We all do, AJ. That's why we get so miffed when you leave us dry for weeks and months.
It's because I have my brain it's full of spider webs, and sometimes I get in weird moods. Yeah,
I know, it happens to me too.
Well, I was looking up a psychiatrist, and it's only $400 an hour. So
wow, ouch. Yeah, that's tough.
Without insurance. So.
Health insurance important, people. Yeah, healthcare, please.
And it's like healthcare now. If I had my shit together enough to be able to afford that, I wouldn't need the therapy.
Exactly.
Saying in my
well, I don't know. I think there's a certain billionaire out there that does need serious therapy, quite frankly. So, and I'm pretty sure he can afford it.
I was actually looking up Elon Musk's net worth the other day and like how he got that and like breaking it down. It was ridiculous. Like nobody should like have even $1 billion, I think, because why would one person even need that much money?
They don't.
At a certain point, it's just flexing, in my opinion.
It's just pure greed, Anyway.
But AJ, we watch every week. Has AJ got anything new on? Does he have anything new on? And you do get, I don't know if you guys get burnt out, but I spend so much time on this. Well, you get burnt out, Mark?
I think
Yeah,
everybody.
I think I do.
limits-
I think I do. I think sort of I've learned, if anything, I've been in some stressful jobs in the past. So I think sort of maintaining a healthy work-life balance and not pressuring yourself too much is a really good idea, because it is that sort of self-flagellation that gets you into a point of going, well, I should have done more. I should have done this. And yeah, I do it a lot. But you know, and you know, another thing I learnt is people on the autism spectrum, like myself, we really suffer from burnout bad.
You have problems with executive function too?
Yes, that's more ADHD than anything else, but yes. Yeah.
Well, you know, I think what we need to do is to get the band back together, Mark, if you know what I mean, and do collab.
Oh yeah,
because those have all been great. Like the sex ed one with Eric Hovind, and then we did the debate prep for Grayson, and all of the streams we've done.
Eric Hovind's gone pre-sup. I was blown away. Like,
I'm not that surprised. I'm not that surprised, because he was hanging out with what's his face, SciManDan Rubin years ago. So
yeah. So he's like, to be honest, if you want to learn any philosophy, SciManDan Rubin, like, oh dear, oh no.
Yeah. No. All right, guys. Well, it's I said I was going to end at the hour mark, so I'm going to keep my word.
Much love, my friend.
Mark,
much love,
and Deviant and Bill. Thank you guys for coming on.
Hey,
thanks, AJ.
Thank you. Take care.
Alrighty.
Bye.
Thank you guys for hanging out in the live chat too. See you guys later.